All right, let's just jump right in. We're about to unpack a really powerful and honestly a pretty radical idea. What if real, lasting success isn't built with support, but in the total absence of it? We're going to break down this strategic, almost ruthless way of thinking, kind of Machiavellian, really, for turning your isolation into your greatest weapon.
So let's start with this question right here, because it gets right to the point. We're always taught to go find validation, build a network, get a mentor. But this whole idea just flips that completely upside down. It suggests that the one thing you're probably afraid of, being all alone, is actually where your real power comes from.
And look, for a lot of you listening, this isn't just some abstract idea. It's a quiet, heavy fact. You look at your phone, nobody's checking in. You look around for a safety net, there isn't one. It is just you. And yeah, most people would see that as the end of the road. But this philosophy, it sees it as the real beginning. That moment, you realize it. That's not a failure. That is what we're going to call the initiation. Think of it as the starting line for a totally different kind of race, where the old rules about needing other people, they just don't apply anymore. This is the moment. It's not some big, loud explosion the world can see. But inside, it's like an earthquake. It's that thought just hitting you like a ton of bricks. It's all on me. And the key here is not to run from it. This moment is the actual foundation where real, unbreakable strength gets built.
So right here, you've got two choices. Most people see this moment as a curse. It's an excuse to fall apart, to blame everyone else, to just say the world's unfair. But the other view sees an initiation. It's a signal that you're on a path where power isn't handed to you, it's forged. It is absolutely a beginning, not an ending. Okay, so once you've reframed that moment as a start, the next step is to tear down the myth that holds almost everybody back, the great support lie. This is that idea we hear everywhere, that you need people cheering you on to do anything important. And what's wild is how old this idea is. I mean, Machiavelli wrote this hundreds of years ago, and it's just as true today. The second your progress or your stability or even your self-worth starts depending on someone else's approval, you've lost your freedom. You're not in the driver's seat anymore. Because let's be real, support, the way we usually think about it, it always comes with strings attached. Help, whether it's money or just a shoulder to cry on, it creates a kind of debt. Constant encouragement can make you dependent. And all of that gives other people leverage over you. So when that support eventually vanishes, and it might, your whole world feels fragile. Being unsupported, it just cuts all those strings from the start. So if support can actually be a weakness, then it has to follow that having zero support comes with its own set of advantages, right? This is where we get into the strategic upside, the incredible power that comes from having absolutely nothing and no one to lean on. This is what we call the 0 point. It's that crystal clear moment when you finally get it. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Now, most people would panic right here, but the big mind shift is to actually feel relief. Because think about it. If no one helped you build it, then no one can take it away from you. If nobody believes in you, then nobody owns you. That's what total freedom feels like. And the difference is just night and day. The supported person, they have to wait for everyone to agree. Their actions are slow, careful. But the unsupported person, they have to move with urgency. There's no other choice. They're fast, they're adaptable. Their focus isn't watered down by trying to please everybody. It's sharpened by the raw pressure to just get it done. They don't answer to other people. They answer only to the results. So the big question is, how do you actually do this? It's not about just passively putting up with being alone. It's about actively using it. This next part is all about the internal discipline you need to turn that solitude and pressure into a weapon. First thing you do, take a vow of silence, just stop talking about what you're gonna do. See, when you tell people your big plans, you get this little hit of dopamine that tricks your brain into feeling like you already did something. It just leaks all your energy. Instead, you take all that ambition, all that pressure, and you channel it inside. You let it build up into this massive fuel source. A ghost doesn't talk. A ghost just works. And really, this is the entire strategy right here. Notice the quote doesn't say, be so well connected or be so popular. It says, be so good. When you have zero support, your skill is the only thing you have. It's the only currency that actually matters. It's the one thing that can't be argued with or taken from you. You become so good that support becomes totally irrelevant. This all requires a huge shift in your head.
You have to stop telling yourself a victim story about how you were abandoned or wronged, and you start telling yourself a villain origin story. See, sadness, it just slows you down. It makes you look for sympathy. But anger, when it's clean and strategic, it moves you forward. Every single doubt, every little insult, every ignored text, that becomes your fuel. This is no longer bitter, accidental isolation. It's strategic isolation, and it's by your own design. So, what about the end game? What happens when you actually win? What happens when all that silent work finally pays off? Well, that's not the end of the road. In fact, it brings you to one last, very important test. You've got to understand this progression, because it's going to happen. First, they will ignore you. Then, as you start to get some momentum, they'll actually resent you for upsetting the way things are. And it's only after you have completely and totally succeeded that they will finally respect you. If you expect this to happen, you won't get thrown off course by what other people think. And trust me, they will come back. The same people who offered you nothing will show up smiling, telling you they always knew you had it in you. This is the final test. Your job is not to argue with them. Don't call them out. Don't expose them. You just remember. You keep a polite but cold and powerful distance. This isn't about being better. It's about protecting the independence you fought so hard for. And let's end on this thought right here. The fact that nobody came to save you, that wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some flaw in your story. The whole point was that no one was supposed to come. You were meant to become completely self-reliant, whole, and powerful all on your own. You were meant to become dangerous.